If you've been noticing that a younger individual has been silently occupying your thoughts recently, or there's someone you just can't seem to brush off regardless of your efforts, this could reveal much more than you anticipate. I'd love for you to truly stick with me for a moment, because the way you are feeling right now is highly significant, truly significant. If any part of this message is already striking a chord, there's no need to push it. Your intuition will acknowledge it organically. And if it hasn't completely clicked yet, that is perfectly fine, too. Simply remain receptive, as we are about to explore something much deeper. Let me pose a question to you right now. Have you caught a younger person entering your mental space more frequently than normal? Perhaps not overtly, perhaps not in a blatant manner, but during brief instances. An idea that surfaces, a name that emerges, a recollection that seems out of the blue. Because if you've been feeling that, it shouldn't be brushed aside. It is genuinely a sign. This is exactly where it begins to get fascinating. And here is the element the majority tend to overlook. This type of bond rarely begins with a roar. It develops silently, delicately, as time passes. You probably didn't even notice its inception. Perhaps it was a brief exchange. Perhaps it was a glance you caught, or maybe a split second where you sensed a change without grasping the reason. Yet today, in retrospect, it carries a unique weight. If you are picking up on that, you possess far more insight than the average person facing this. Now, pay attention to this crucial point. This is not a coincidence, at least not in the sense you might assume. What I am sensing is that a specific person has been pondering about you far more than they originally anticipated. I am not stating this to sound theatrical or overblown. I am expressing it from a practical, observant standpoint. It's the variety of thought that lingers in the shadows. Silent, relentless, recurring, and gradually it transforms into a feeling they struggle to dismiss. Here is the detail that could catch you off guard. They might entirely lack a clear grasp of why it is occurring. You are aware of how. Occasionally, you dwell on an idea or an individual without truly comprehending the reason. It simply occurs. It operates much like that. Yet, as days pass, it intensifies. It grows more recurrent, more apparent, and eventually hits a stage where it begins to shape how they perceive their daily routine, their musings, and even their decisions. Let me pace this back for a second, though, because this is vital. This has nothing to do with toxic fixation. It is devoid of manipulation. It isn't tied to anything damaging. Rather, this centers around mindfulness, acknowledgement, and a sort of silent magnetism that remains somewhat of a mystery. If you are the type of individual who treasures lucidity, you are likely already attempting to decode this. That is precisely what sets you apart from the crowd. Now, reflect on this thought. Have you ever sensed another person's focus on you, even during periods of complete silence between you two? As if a delicate mutual recognition existed, entirely devoid of speech. If that resonates, you already grasp a fraction of this. Energy. Because what I am detecting right now is a bond that functions outside the realm of continuous chatter. It lives in the mind rather than solely in physical deeds. And this is the exact point where it becomes truly captivating. This individual might be your junior, or at the very least navigating a distinct life phase, and that gap is significant. It doesn't generate a divide. but rather it offers a fresh vantage point. From their lens, you likely embody an essence that appears rooted, lucid, and secure, an ideal they are currently striving to cultivate within themselves, which sparks a subtle form of reverence, an emotion they rarely vocalize, yet unmistakably experience deep down. Allow me to halt for a moment, because if you are tuning in intently, you might already sense this, not as an outside force, but as an inward reflection. It is as though this tie is illuminating a truth about who you are, your consciousness, your aura, your capacity to remain anchored even amidst ambiguity. That is no minor feat. It is genuinely an indicator of psychological and individual maturity. Here is exactly where the vast majority begin to overanalyze. They scramble to decipher its meaning in an instant. They attempt to forecast the ending. They rush to label the dynamic before it has genuinely been given the space to blossom. Yet, what if that is the opposite of what is required today? What if the true intention isn't to solve the puzzle instantly, but to merely witness it, to perceive, to remain vigilant without dictating the final verdict? I truly want you to absorb this thought, since this could alter your perspective on similar bonds from this day forward. Not every bond requires an instant reaction. Certain ties mature as the days unfold. Some unmask their true nature progressively, and a few exist solely to impart a lesson before evolving into anything greater. Take a brief instant to consult with your inner self right now. What is the true sensation of this tie? Disregard logic. Disregard the intellect. Focus solely on the emotional weight. Are you experiencing intrigue, tranquility, a hint of doubt, or perhaps a distinct feeling of homecoming? Your soul's reaction will tell you far more than any outside justification possibly could. When a situation is genuinely in harmony, your gut will validate it without demanding evidence. Let me speak plainly with you for a brief moment. You have no obligation to hunt for solutions beyond your own spirit. Should a matter be destined for clarity, the fog will lift. Should a bond be destined to flourish, it will expand. And if a connection is intended to stay delicate, it carries profound meaning regardless. Not a single facet of this is squandered. Absolutely none of this is by chance. Furthermore, here is a pattern you might detect if you observe carefully. The heavier your thoughts lean toward this individual, the more frequently they appear to manifest in your consciousness. It doesn't feel contrived. Rather, it happens in fleeting fragments. This doesn't strictly dictate that a tangible event is occurring at this exact second. It merely signifies that your intuition is dialed into a current flowing underneath the visible layer. Rather than battling to tame it, you have the option to just validate its presence, spot it, allow it to exist free of expectations. Let me dial the speed back once more, as this segment is crucial. You are not lagging. You haven't overlooked a single detail. You are by no means off your rightful path simply because the full picture eludes you presently. Often, circumstances are merely taking shape, quietly maturing, and aligning beautifully behind the curtain. Simply because it remains invisible to the eye doesn't imply it is absent. If your mind has been running in circles over this, it stands as proof of your empathy, a testament to your perception, proof that you are attempting to decode a matter of substance. Yet, here is the pivot. rather than battling. To command the final destination, make an effort to witness the journey. Rather than questioning, what will this eventually turn into? Pivot toward asking, how is this enriching my existence in this very moment? That specific inquiry anchors your spirit. It ensures your stability. It securely binds you to your personal trajectory, preventing you from surrendering your agency to the unknown. Consider this additional angle as well. This dynamic might be serving as a mirror for you, highlighting truths not merely about them, but regarding your own core, your resilience, your perception, your talent for remaining steadfast even when the horizon appears foggy. That mirrored truth holds immense value. It grants you the ability to view your own soul with heightened transparency. That level of insight is a formidable force. Simultaneously, this individual is likely navigating an identical sentiment. They are potentially recognizing a quality within you that they haven't entirely decoded, an element that sparks their motivation, a trait that stretches their boundaries, a characteristic that compels them to view their own identity in a completely novel light. Such profound impact does not require a megaphone to be authentic. Now, this is the exact spot where I urge you to halt once more, because it is paramount. You are not obligated to forfeit your identity to this situation. You have no duty to dissect every minute fragment. There is zero necessity to sprint blindly ahead. What is truly required from you is consciousness, rooted consciousness, the variety that empowers you to witness every detail without impulsive reactions, to experience emotions without draining your energy, to prioritize the bond you share with your own soul. Notice this subtle yet critical adjustment. Rather than attempting to govern what materializes tomorrow, maintain an open heart to whatever blossoms. Operate not out of desperation. Act not under duress, but firmly from a foundation of equilibrium. Operating from that stable domain grants this bond the breathing room required to mature unforced. If you have journeyed with me to this point, take a second to recognize that achievement. The vast majority tap out early. The reality that you are still listening signifies that a fragment of this dialogue is touching your spirit in a profound manner. You are under no obligation to artificially inject significance into that fact. You can simply accept it as it is. I will leave you with this final thought. Certain bonds are simply not designed to be hurried. Some ties reject being pressured, and others are strictly meant to blossom at a measured pace, perfectly harmonizing with both souls intertwined. Therefore, remain rooted. Keep your spirit receptive. Have faith that whatever is genuinely destined for your path will persist in advancing toward you, precisely when the timing is flawless.